Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mystic Radio with Claudia and Janine. And today we are going to deep dive all things Claudia. We are going to find out who she is before she knew she was a mystic, a little bit about her background, how she works with her clients today, and what her spiritual self means to her in the present moment. So, Claudia, welcome to our radio station. Welcome to everything about you. Tell us a
Thank
little bit
you.
about your background. Who are you before you were all this mystical goddess stuff?
Oh my God. Thank you for having me on our show. First of all, this is great. By the way,
Absolutely.
listeners, this is Janine's idea, and I loved it because it does definitely allow us to introduce ourselves to you. And my background before I got into this beautiful space was, I think, like most, lots of childhood trauma. Um, just having to be an adult early on for me. Since I was 10, I had to be the adult and help raise my younger brothers. Um, while somewhere in my teenage years, the universe gave me a little hint of who I am, and I was like, what? I don't know. That's just all crazy, and I'm probably losing my mind at 15. Um, and then um, not knowing, just really being slightly aware, but not completely of yourself in my 20s. Definitely repeating patterns, dating the same energy that my parents were to me through my first boyfriend and second, and then cool jobs, in hospitality. I started in my early 20s, my hospitality career of 20 years. And I worked in really high-end luxury hotels and high-end restaurants as well. The highlight of my career, I worked at the Plaza in New York City where Home Alone was filmed.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Fantastic. How
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was, but it was just the most suffocating job as an empath ever. But it was great. Either way, like I got to see the remodeling and how beautiful the rooms were, and just a different world that I was not privy to or had the privilege to grow up in, right? So I was able to experience that kind of luxury through working it, and leaving New York, for the first time when I moved to Miami was kind of where my ground started to come apart, right? Where I
Right.
was starting to see like a little bit of who I am and started to realize like the home life with my family wasn't healthy. And coming back to New York, I had heartbreak waiting for me, and oh gosh, I can't even describe the 30s for me was like a between worlds, right? Coming into yourself slightly and still struggling with the reality of the traumas and the cyclical patterns with our families and friends, and um, trying to fit myself somewhere every time. In retrospect, I always saw it this way. Now it's like, wow, I was really trying to put myself in places I never belonged because I was different than most people, but I didn't know. I really just didn't know. I was trying to be the diamond fitting with all the coal, right? Because everyone wasn't the diamond yet. And I was like, but I used to be.
Right. Right.
I used to
Right.
be, guys, hey, you want to go party? You want to go to the movie? Like, do normal stuff started becoming difficult. And I didn't know why still. It just felt different. And so it was a journey, and just trying to experiment with different professions
Mhm.
for a while. I mean, besides hospitality is so broad. Like I think you can name a job and I've done it. Except be a doctor and a lawyer, of course. But I've even been a dental assistant without going to school. I know it. So
Oh.
I've been able to, the downfall I thought was like, oh, I'm not finding myself, right? But in the
Right.
meantime, what I was doing was collecting tools in my belt,
Right.
and just preparing for the mission that I'm in today without knowing. I was just trying to find myself in jobs and people and not realizing that it's within. But again, I'm very appreciative for the experiences, the people that I've met, and how they kind of help me move forward, even though they may not be in my life, just to know that these people helped be my catalyst into the next step, into the next step. So, just a lot of fumbling around and in the dark and trying to find myself like most people. And when the light appears, definitely run towards it. That's my advice.
Right. Well, it sounds like so much of your story, which is really, really rich, right? And as you began to deal with that trauma and then how that mirrored into your relationships and
Yeah.
even into your work, you're able to kind of serve other people, which you're still doing now, but in a different way. And then in all that, and even in all that trauma, how little by little everything just kind of fell away on the outside, it sounds like, right? And you were being more drawn to who is Claudia, what's
Yes.
going on for her, what's going to
Yes.
lift her up. And I love how you said you were bouncing around, and almost like, the vision I get when you say that is, you're going here. Am I that? No. Am I that? No.
Uh-huh.
And then the friends kind of fell away. This is what it
Yeah.
sounds like you're saying. And it's,
Yeah.
as you were doing that, as that was happening for you, um, how hard was that? Was that tricky to go into that truth of yours and let go of even more as you were moving forward? What did that feel like for you?
It was very difficult because I had a lot of abandonment issues,
Right.
and attachment issues. So when people would fall away, that
Right.
would be triggered so deeply.
Mm.
And not knowing, I always argue with my spiritual team, like, why didn't you tell me before that my light was too big for most people, that not to take it personal, right? I
Right.
didn't know at that time, but it was so hard to just have friends and family fall away, and lovers and relationships. It was really hard because I took it so personal. Because you
Mhm.
start, right? What's wrong with me? What did I do? I was overgiving. I'm the anxious attachment person. I'm
Right.
overgiving.
Right.
Wait, but I will appease you. I will be quiet, or I will behave. And not realizing that was me begging my mother to see me and hear me and love me, and I was doing that to everyone. And so it was difficult because I didn't know that. So you get triggered. So your inner child is just hurting over and over, being triggered by your traumas without knowing that that was what was occurring, that you were reliving an experience from your childhood over and over. And I don't even know, like, when I saw I do remember, my last relationship really allowed me to see it, because I was intentful going into this space with this person. I said, I want to see what only your actual partner, the person you're dating, can mirror back to you, that I can't
Right.
see. Because friends can show you some aspects,
Right.
but I also was losing them, right? So I wasn't getting
Mhm.
close or intimate with a lot of my friends. And with I have a great relationship with my brothers now as we're older. But we're the same, right? My brothers and I who are struggling the same, so they're not gonna mirror something I already don't know. So I was looking for something more out, that I wasn't really paying attention to,
Beyond, yeah, beyond
right?
what you knew. Right.
Beyond what I knew. So that really helped me see a lot, and also because I asked for it and I was open to see it. And even now I'm still healing from all of that.
Right. Right.
But it's nice to have the knowledge and be aware of what's actually happening, so that way when it does trigger me, I'm not negative self-talking or shaming
Right.
myself or guilty
Right.
myself. So it's just more like, just feel what you're feeling, and it's gonna be okay. Just go through it. Don't try to hide and distract myself in different forms, as we all do. But that's it took some time to get here, for sure.
as you're speaking, it's so amazing to hear that, to know that you came from all that trauma and then you found yourself here. So if I could ask you, do you remember perhaps a turning point moment that, or some type of a catalyst outside of the people, or maybe a book or a situation where you're like, you know what, I'm done kind of seeing myself this way or
Mhm.
talking to myself this way,
Mhm.
the way I was used to being
Yeah,
seen or
yeah,
used to being spoken
yeah,
to. What was that turning point moment for you that you were able then to look at yourself and start to spiritualize it
yeah,
more than shame it for
yeah.
yourself?
I will never forget my first time on a yoga mat. I was 25. I left my first long-term relationship and found myself on the yoga mat, and I was lucky enough to have the most amazing teacher ever. I wish I could remember his name, but
Mm,
he introduced me to myself, and he taught meditation as well, and
mm,
that was the seed for me. And
right.
through time, definitely books. One big one, which we are all aware of. Oh, I just got chills. The Alchemist by Paulo
Yeah,
Coelho.
Paulo Coelho. Yeah, I
That,
love
I
that
mean,
book.
how
I
many
love that book
times?
too.
When you read it once, you're reading it like 100
Yeah,
times.
right.
Such
Right.
a remarkable book, and what blows me away is that it's fifth grader level written, but it
Right.
holds so much magic.
Mm,
It's
right.
tremendous.
Yeah.
That one and Buddha by Deepak Chopra. It was
Hmm.
a fiction story, but a lot of the things in this book made me feel that I wasn't crazy, and
Right.
I'm not the only one that is this self-aware and
Hmm.
can be so sensitive to the wind, or the birds and the bees, or whatever what was happening surrounding me, and it's normal to feel other people's feelings and like that, so that was a great, between those three aspects. And yoga was still off and on. I'm back on with her, but
Well,
it was an off and on relationship
right.
because again, like, you're not when you're not in alignment with yourself. The off and on again makes sense with yoga, because yoga is such a sacred
It is.
practice
Yeah.
that if you're not ready to
Hmm.
continue and work on yourself, then you're gonna be your ego is gonna be like, no, let's just go regular gym, let's just do weights, so let's go jogging,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's a whole body experience. It's a whole
It's a
self experience,
whole
right?
self
And
experience.
and
Yes.
and really allows you to transcend things
Hmm.
fairly
Hmm.
quickly.
Oh my God, yeah.
I love it. So as you began to have this new relationship with yourself, you
Mm.
saw Claudia differently.
Hmm.
Again, it takes courage because that is all about letting go as
Mm.
the old stories fall away. So now that this is blossoming inside of you so amazingly well and strengthening, you said, okay, I know who I am now. I'm really starting to see this and it's kind of overflowing. How can I bring this to the world?
Yeah,
Tell us a little bit, all the listeners too, about what you offer in regards to your business, how
yeah,
you share your whole life experience,
yeah.
because you are healing yourself. As a healer,
Hmm.
people can really only go as deeply as the healer has healed themselves. And this feels
Yes.
like a lifetime journey for you and something that has been a whole self,
Yes.
continual
Continuum.
working with. So, how do you work with your people now? What do you bring forth for others?
Sure. Unbeknownst to me, during that first step in yoga, 20 years ago almost,
Hmm.
um, planting the seed and nourishing it and being patient, that I was creating this beautiful garden of wisdom
Right.
within myself. So when the universe called me, and I was like, 2020, right, right, hey, ring, Claudia. I'm like, hello, yeah, you're getting fired from your job. I'm like, what? Why? Because we need you to do something important. I'm like, okay, and I'm like, what is it? Like, okay, we'll tell you in a few months. By click, and I was like, okay. So I was sitting at home. That's what we all were sitting at home,
Right.
and and I realized how prepared I was for this, because I love myself, right? I've come
Mm,
into
right.
myself.
Right.
But I started watching a lot of people doing webinars on different things, just
Sure.
different topics, and I was thinking, well, I'm great with people because of my hospitality background. What if I
Mhm, mhm.
become a host in one of these webinars, right?
Oh,
Just
yeah.
to see what that would be like. A week later, I got asked to be a host at
Oh
someone's
my
webinar.
goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, creepy. And then and so as the other thought was still in as a new seed, like, oh, I'm feeling great being home, but I don't think everyone's so great being home, but with themselves, with their
Right.
with being 24/7 with their families, with themselves, with their thoughts,
Sure.
with
Right.
like that forced reflection that everyone had to do. And so I thought, okay, I see this idea forming. If I grab, because I felt so uncomfortable doing it by myself, I've never
Sure.
done something like this.
Right. Right.
So I grabbed some people in the wellness community on Instagram, and I met some on Clubhouse at the time. Clubhouse was hot then. And I asked, hey, I have this idea on YouTube to come together and talk about a topic on mental health. Would you be interested, right? And so it started that way. And every month I would have a few people come and just have a topic. And then a producer here in Hollywood, he helps the Latino community, mostly Latino comedians and actors and actresses. He loved what I was doing and took faith and invested and bought me a podcasting class,
Oh my God.
and then it turned into a podcasting class.
Mm.
And what I'm describing is me not resisting.
Right.
I'm just going through
Yep.
one step,
Hmm.
and I'm just like, oh, this leads to this. Oh, what about this store? And what about this store, right? And so the podcasting became that one-on-one interview, which now all of you are very aware. If you haven't heard, it's Presently Aqui with Claudia, and
Hmm.
Aqui
Hmm.
stands here for here in
Yep. Yep.
Spanish. And so I have these beautiful podcasts where I met Janine, and then I met this other beautiful sister, Ava, who teaches spirit camp to children up in Maine. And she and I had a beautiful conversation. We clicked just as well as you and I have. And I told her that I had previous experience in teaching kids yoga in New York for a short stint. And I've also done, I've worked in Florida. There's this beautiful botanical garden slash wildlife sanctuary, and they have educational services for kids. So I was doing that there
Oh
also.
my
And
Right.
so she calls me a month later after interviewing this beautiful woman. She said, "Would you be open to teaching mindfulness at my school?" I said,
Mm.
"What?
Mhm.
What? Wait, repeat that. Come back, come back. What?"
Right.
And so, yes, of course.
Hmm.
And I already, thankfully, because of my previous knowledge with the kids yoga,
Right.
my teacher there, Mayuri, she was great in explaining so many factors. Like she helped me see that you have to be as healed as you can be, right, in your
Right.
right now moment, to
Right.
show up for them, because they will
Yes.
see right through you
Yes.
if you're pretending or acting,
Right.
and you want to be your most authentic self when you show up to them. And so that, and she taught me also, like, they're not giving you a hard time, they're having a hard time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these little things that stayed with me, I put it into practice, and I had my first beautiful, amazing goddess, mini goddess, who came into my life to be my first student, and she stayed being my student for about almost 7 months,
Oh my
because her
goodness.
father loved what I was doing with her,
Right. Right.
and so that changed my entire life
Right.
forever.
Right.
Forever and ever and ever. I had plans to either, because I've been singing since I was 19. I was like, oh, I'll use my voice somehow.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe starting up my own food and beverage company, because I've had so much hospitality experience. There was
Right.
a plethora of ideas where I wanted my life to go. But when this hit and I surrendered,
Hmm.
because I didn't have anything to resist. I really didn't. So once that happened, I called back the universe. I was like, hey, I see what you did there. Very good, very good.
Oh my
Nice
gosh,
job,
you're
right?
so funny.
And so
Right.
that was everything. So I offer long story short, right? I offer children's mindfulness courses, and
Right.
for the parents, I want them to understand that I am not teaching them something they don't already know, because we
Right.
all have mindfulness within ourselves, the
Mhm.
self-awareness. It's like a muscle. We just have to practice it like we do
Practice it.
meditation and yoga and anything else. So, what I give them is tools and the words to express themselves and how to use the breath, right? How to understand their emotions, how to
Right.
understand their thoughts, having the understanding of what an inner critic is versus who you truly are.
Hmm.
And so that also now it's growing into something deeper, into offering family
Oh,
mindfulness
yeah.
classes,
Right.
right?
Right.
So for the parents out there, I do require a prerequisite class for the adults, because
Mhm.
your child will always be the advanced student. And so you need
Always.
to catch up
Right.
to where they are naturally.
Yeah.
And then once the parent, or it doesn't have to be for parents, it's called Coming Home to Yourself workshop, and it's
Mm.
a 4-week
Mm.
workshop, when we get together, and it's going to be a group setting. So come together and understand why self-awareness is so important to your mental health,
Yes.
and learning who you are and coming home to yourself for the first time, because the
Mhm.
children are already home. I don't have
Yeah.
to teach
Yeah.
them, right?
No. No.
And so that's the prerequisite class to the family mindfulness class, which I'm currently developing as well. And I am creating a teenager class, um, I know,
Yay.
so they can understand their bodies more, and
Yes.
the hormones that
Right.
are, the overwhelming emotions, and
Mm.
so they can, and also on the side, this will be probably later on the year, creating one personal for young girls that are in their premenstrual, right
Mhm.
before you get your
Right.
first menses,
Yes.
to help them not lose their way and lose their innocence and lose that divine feminine of themselves because of society. And there's still that the energetic force of the patriarchy that lives there, and having boys using her for her body and things like that, and having her
Mhm.
step into her power and being able to be strong enough to say no. And so, and protect this beautiful vessel and the portal that is her womb. And so that's what I'm doing later on this year. And I think that's it for now. And the podcast that's always on.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so first of all, I just found another topic for another one that we're going to have, another one of our
Yeah.
podcast, all about the children, right?
Yes.
We
Yes.
both have a heart for and understand the depth and the importance of children. And oh my
Yeah.
gosh, Claudia, what you are bringing to them is a cry and a call from their heart.
Mm-hmm.
We could see that, right? We could
Yes.
see how all well-meaning, but it's not working. It's
It's
just
not
not
working.
working.
It's
And
not
so
working.
giving them these other learning tools
Yeah.
that it's not just information that anybody can
Yeah.
garner.
Right.
It's the foundational stuff that
Yes.
they could build a better
Yes.
life upon, right? Like it's
Yes.
the things that
Yes.
once you get that done, then the information comes easy
Right.
because the rest of it's about living well with yourself.
Yeah.
And so I am so excited for the work that you're doing for people. And oh my gosh, and I get to sit here, front row seats, backstage pass, watch what you do and cheer you on and hopefully maybe join in because it's, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I think it's just so beautiful. And I love that you're sharing it with the parents because it's a
Yes.
team effort. Like the
It's a team
children
effort.
can't contain this
No.
if the parents are still doing the old way that we were taught.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
We weren't taught it
Exactly.
either. I'm a parent of
Right.
two, and but what you bring is so important, and
And I love
yeah,
that you said that it was foundational, because
it is
that's the most important
more
aspect
important. Yes,
to mindfulness for anyone
yeah,
to take away, is that it's a foundational aspect of who, in order for you to figure out who you are and what you want to become and how to build on it, you need
right.
to understand that aspect. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Yes, and it's one of the reasons why I think we clicked, right? Because we both feel very importantly about that topic. It's just a
Very.
fundamental way to live,
Yes.
right? We
Yes.
can't heal without it.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
okay, where can people find you, Claudia? Where can we find you?
Yes, so I am on all social media platforms and my website at Presently Aqui. And for the listener who isn't watching the video, it's Presently, and Aqui is AQUI. So
Mhm.
presentlyaki.com or anywhere else you may think of, except TikTok. I am not interested in diving into that space personally. So
Right.
that's the only place you won't find me. But otherwise, yes. And that website will have the kids, which is ourmindfulkids.com as well, if you just wanted to go to that space. But Presently Aqui has the podcast, it has the workshops that are coming up, and then the children as I will be creating a link to Mystic Radio as well.
Yay! And one last question I just thought of. Would you like to share your sun, moon, and rising sign?
Ooh, yes. So my sun is Aquarius,
Mm-hmm.
my rising is Cancer, and my moon is Sag, and we're having a full moon in Sag coming
We're
up. So I'm
having a
like,
full moon in Sag. I love it. Well, I mean, Cancer rising, that's the
yes,
mama in you right there, right?
yes,
Oh,
yes.
Claudia. Well, thank you for sharing all that you have, the vulnerable bits, the strong bits, all of it.
Thank
Such
you.
love and everything about Claudia right here. And I'm sure our listeners will be hearing so much more about who
Yes.
Claudia is and who we are together. And thank you for joining us today on Mystic Radio. Thank you, Claudia.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.